Now that we have the bungalow done, remodeled, we have an awesome tenant in there, a single mom and her son, we're ready to build on our blank canvas. This is why I bought this property. We're gonna do an awesome infill development here with a house and an ADU. I should have my permits next week. I'm gonna start breaking ground. I'm gonna share every step of the way. Feel free to shoot me a DM, follow along. I'll teach you everything that I've learned over the last 2 decades of deploying this strategy. So we're getting started here. This is part of the development process that's not very fun, that nobody talks about. I've never really seen a video of somebody trying to square up a house pad. So we've had this place surveyed, the corner pins are in, and now we're taking the corner pins and drawing a line with string across the front of the lot and the side of the lot so we can square our house pad that we're getting ready to cut and our ADU pad, so we can square those up and they'll be parallel to the side streets. So when we look at this project on an aerial, the outline of our building is parallel with everything and we look like we know what we were doing. It took way longer than it should have, but we have this house and ADU both mapped out. We paid particular attention to the lot line and the street. So both of our units are going to be parallel to the longest running sidewalk. There's lots of little nuances when you're laying out your units, like how far away from the fence do we have to be? What's the setback? Something that I fought with for a while was, how far do I want my ADU and my primary house to be? We don't want any wasted space. We went with 8 feet of separation here, so later down the road, if there's ever an upzoning here, we've got room to meet the parking standard of 2 spots, 9 by 19. If we were ever able to split this, we would do a curb cut and have parking. But it's important that you take all the time that you need to put the unit in the right spot, because once we cut the pad and pour the foundation, obviously we're locked in. So before our equipment gets here, we want to do all the prep that we can. So here is our water vault, and our water meter is going to be inside of this. When they put this sidewalk in back in the 90s, they put a sleeve in already. So we have a clear path, and I wanted to hand dig around this so when the excavator shows up, I can get in from the other side and get some digging done. The due diligence on a property, if you're going to develop it, is really important. So the fact that there's already a water meter here, there's already a sleeve through the concrete. There's a similar example with the sewer line down the sidewalk that I'm going to show you next, but this is probably a $5,000 to $8,000 savings that this was already in, and that's one piece of really important due diligence when you're looking at infill development, is what kind of infrastructure is there that's going to save you money. Under here is some more prep work that we're doing. So here is the sewer vault, and what we have is a clean out. When they put this road in back in the 90s, the owner that owned this property before was development minded and super savvy, and he came out and he said, hey, can I pay you to put in a sewer stub and a water stub? And what that did is it passed the savings on down the road to me. It was probably baked into the price in all reality, but I was able to save a little bit of money because the major connections, water and sewer, were already done. What I've done here is dug all the way down. It's like 36 inches down to the cap, and we're just gonna pull the cap off and connect our sewer. It's important that we take safety into consideration. So this is public right away. This is the property line. Even though this is on our private property, we want to make sure that we cover it up at the end of each workday so nobody falls in here. And we have to hand dig within 3 feet of any line in our jurisdiction. So whether I like it or not, we have to use a shovel here. Once we expose it, we can use the excavator. So I'm super excited to kick off this process of building this ADU and the small ADU behind it. The front unit is going to be the ADU that we gave to our city that you can walk into the planning department and get over the counter for free. I had a few DMs asking about the planning process and how long it takes. A couple people from California said they were waiting 6 or 8 or 10 months for permits. Based on experience, what I've noticed over the years is that the application has to be complete to even start that timeline. So if there's a state law where you're at that says they have to approve any residential build in, say, 6 months, that's from time of completed application. So do yourself a favor, and when you're getting started, make sure you follow your checklist and get all of the documentation that your city or municipality or county requires. So it took about 2.5 months to get my approved plans. and they had to go through a ton of different reviews in-house. They get sent out to Public Works, they get sent out to the sewer district, they get sent out to the county assessor's office, the county building review department. So based on your jurisdiction and how many departments your plans have to be sent to, that's going to dictate how long it's going to take. One thing I will say is it's expensive. So this is a 800 square foot ADU in the front, and the back unit is a 524 square foot ADU. And I paid in total just over $31,000 for plan review fees, that's system development charges, and transportation and water commission. In our jurisdiction, our plans come with these green job cards, and on the job card there's a huge list of, like, not every single step of the build process, but a lot of them. And we don't have to call for every single one of those. There's kind of a, I guess it's an unwritten rule of when to call for inspection. In this market, in other markets, they have a very detailed checklist of when you need to call and for what. Again, this is site specific, municipality specific. Get to know the codes in your area by calling, emailing, and going into your local planning and zoning office, as well as planning a trip into your building department to ask the building official, hey, what permits am I going to need for this project? When am I going to have to call for inspections? Because I can't speak to every market. Just based on my own experience, most of what I share will be in the couple of markets where I build. So I've got everything marked out. All corners are pinned. I've got the map painted onto the ground, and the excavator is en route. It should be here any minute, and I'm going to start in the back corner. So one mistake I used to make just about every time I cut a house pad was not having a well thought out plan of where I'm going to dig, where the dump truck access is going to be to not get mud everywhere. So over the years of doing this, I've kind of formulated a little bit of a system, trying to dig as far away from the street as I can and work my way out. So I'm going to start in the back corner. I'm going to get a stockpile, then I'm going to call the dump trucks to have them come cycling. We're taking the dirt about 5 miles down the road, so there's a little bit of a lag. In a perfect world, we'd only want to touch the dirt once. We would have a truck sitting here and we would take every scoop right into the back of a dump truck. But they're $125 an hour in our market. So I have to just be efficient while also trying to save money. Again, we're trying to build cost-effective ADUs here. Just as it started raining, my equipment showed up, so I'm gonna dig a big hole in the rain. Oh well, first world problems. Anybody can do it. We wanna get down to that clay layer and watch that power line up there. It's actually cable, but nobody cares. Swoop underneath it and finish cutting this pad. Here's the completion of our hand digging for the sleeve for our water line into the meter. And then up here, we have the hole started to tap in to the sewer stub. There's the clean out right there, 4-inch PVC, and then down here, 36 inches deep down into this hole, we've got a Gaines coupler to a cap, and we'll machine dig from here over to the lot. So before I completely dig myself into a corner, I did a bucket switch, dropped the clean out bucket and put on the 18-inch trencher, and we're gonna connect in to our sewer line trench that we hand dug. And of course, it's raining. One thing that I've seen make or break most infill developments is the utility costs. What infrastructure is there and what infrastructure do you need to put in? This lot was a bargain because it came with a sewer connection. Right here we have a clean out, a brand new PVC line. We know that because we scoped the pipes before we closed on the property. This sewer line connection and the water line connection down the sidewalk are gonna save us roughly $10,000. It gives us a huge head start on this infill project. So I'm about a quarter away into this cut, and we're 36 inches on the back side. We've hit the sandstone colored clay, which is what the soil engineer wanted. So usually I wouldn't dig quite this deep, but he wanted a 36-inch cut into the sand and then backfill it with 2 feet of rock. So this is the first step of that process. This 12 ton excavator is doing a great job. We've already got about, oh, I don't know, probably 30 yards of dirt right here that need to be hauled off. But anybody can do this. Rent an excavator, teach yourself how to operate it, just make sure nobody's watching for the first few hours. I mean, you just go left, right. It's just like one of those little excavators at the park when we were a kid. So rent one of these, spend a few hours with nobody watching, learning how to use it. Right now we're loading out all this clay. So we had to backfill with rock, and this is great soil. It's a bummer that we have to send it down the road. I'm gonna shake it out high enough here to clear the truck, and right in the back of the dump truck. Just like that. After you do this for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours and you get off of it and you come back, it's crazy how your muscle memory can remember how to do all these little motions. So just scoop it, curl it, raise it up. I'm gonna shake it out for a second so I don't drop it all over the sidewalk. And then right in the back of the dump truck. Easy money. Hey, I'm getting there. This is only half of the cut.
I only left you alone for about 2 hours.
I'm a worker bee, man. There's the work smarter and then there's the work harder. I'm the work harder. That was the police. Anyways, the soil engineer came out and said we needed 36 inches of cut down to this sandstone. So we're close enough. I mean, what's a couple inches amongst friends? And we got to put 9 inches of 4-inch minus rock down, and then we're going to do another 9 inches of 3/4 on top of it, compact it all, and then we can set forums and build on that. So one more step closer to the process. Let's go look at the sewer line. Before we got done digging this piece of the house pad, I changed buckets through the 18-inch digger on there and cut this trench. Oh, I don't know, it's probably almost 4.5 feet deep. And this is where we're gonna tie in over here to the sewer connection. Oh, get down in here. This is all compacted. I like to use a Geotech fabric. And what this does is it makes a barrier between the mud and the rock. So over time, as the water soaks in, the mud doesn't want to eat the rock. So this is a delineation line between the two of those. So we roll this out. Now this stuff's about $600 per 300-foot roll, but it's well worth it. Friends don't let their friends build houses without a Geotech fabric. So the pad is cut. I just finished the last pass. We've got 36 inches of cut here. And then I just rolled out this 12-foot wide geo fabric that the soil engineer wanted the rock on. Now we're waiting for the dump truck. He should be here any minute with the first load of 4-inch minus. We're gonna do a 9-inch lift of 4-inch minus rock, compact that, and then we'll do another 9 inches of 3/4 minus and start hauling this dirt out. We've got our 4-inch minus getting dropped here. I'm gonna spread all of this and then we'll compact it and bring in the 3/4. Got the first layer down. This is all the 4-inch minus. We're ready to bring in the next layer. 3/4, bring in 9 inches of that and we'll compact it all. And we're getting ready to fill up the pad on this front dump. Get it! As we start to wrap up week 1, just a quick recap, we've cut the pad. We cut it down to 36 inches. We brought in a bunch of rock, compacted it. I've got my good friend Pat here who's been doing concrete for me for years. And Pat, what are you doing right now?
Putting up batter boards and getting ready to square it up.
Nice. So we're gonna set batter boards in the corner like Pat said,
and get a nice square footprint, and we'll start laying our footing boards. We're gonna stack our panels on the footings and do a monolithic pour and get the footing and stem wall all in one. I'm gonna update probably every day, and then I'm gonna try to put out a video every week on Saturday. So you'll be able to see weekly process and progress. Just about price now, a lot of questions have come in about how much does it cost. So within a week here, we spent just over $32,000 on permits. That's plan fees, that's system development charges, transportation, parks, roads, sewer. I spent about $5,000 on the site work so far, $2,000-ish on the excavator, about $2,000 in rock, and then around $1,000 to haul off all the dirt. So week 1, 2 here, we're about $5,000 in, plus the $30-ish thousand. And then of course my labor's free because I like to work harder, not smarter. But thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you on the next video.